Good afternoon, everybody. Hey, thanks for joining here for the workshop, Maximizing the Cloud Market Opportunity. Really appreciate everybody taking time out of their business to join us for the conference today. I know that that takes a lot, but really appreciate it and hope you walk away with some very actionable things. That's really the purpose of this workshop, too. So my name's Jason Bystrak. I joined D&H at the end of January, and we're working to build out our cloud strategy and cloud business unit, and that's really involving helping all of our partners to be able to advance their business. So the purpose of this workshop today is we're going to talk about some actionable things, and specifically 3 areas. We work with hundreds and hundreds of different cloud and managed service provider partners, and we think we've got a good barometer on the market and see what types of things are working, what types of things maybe aren't working. We want to share some of these best practices with you. There's 3 specific areas we're going to focus on today. The first area is around digital marketing. How do you get the message out? I think there's a great risk that a lot of times your end customers don't necessarily know that you're in the cloud business and they're working direct with some of the vendor partners or finding other sources. So our marketing guru, Nate Hatella, is going to join us and talk a little bit about some of the trends and best practices around marketing. And another area that we are making some big investments and seeing a big trend is around device as a service, which is becoming X as a service, right, or everything as a service. What that means is that you think about taking hardware and making it to a monthly subscription model. When you add in cloud services and then managed and or professional services, that whole monthly subscription model becomes X as a service. And there's a lot of end clients that we're seeing that want to consume their technology in that type of a way in an OpEx model. So we've got our PhD in DAS, Matt Arnold, who's going to join us and talk a little bit about some of the trends we're seeing and what successful partners are doing to drive that business with it. And lastly, what I'm going to talk to you a little bit about in between the two is sales best practices. You know, where the inflection points are that you can be having that customer conversation around cloud to be able to drive your business, and some just ideas and tips that we're seeing good partners do when that happens there. Okay? We do want to try to keep this as interactive as possible. It's a really big crowd in here today, but we're going to, you can raise your hand if you want to jump in the middle and ask any questions too. But just to get a feel for the group here, how many people today are selling cloud services already? How many are selling things that attach to Office 365 and not just Office 365? Yeah, maybe about a third of that there. How many would consider themselves managed service providers? A lot of you using PSA tools like ConnectWise, Autotask, things like that. A chunk of you like that. Fantastic. That really helps to understand because we think that's a great place to start with the market. First thing I'm going to do is level set by showing you a little bit about what D&H's cloud strategy is. So we're all about empowering our partners to capture the cloud market opportunity, and there's 5 focus areas that we have in place to do that. The first is our people. It doesn't happen without the right people in place. So we formed a formal business unit this year for cloud, and we've invested in vendor managers to bring the right solutions to market and manage those partnerships. Business development resources. Maria Moran is here with us here, is one of the ones that covers this territory. She can help build partner business plans to help you get up and running and accelerate your business. Ryan Flynn is our senior sales manager, and he's got a team of 8 people on the inside that are helping with day-to-day opportunities. People like Eric Duquette and Misty Mack are covering the Northeast region for partners that are fairly local to here. We can get you a map of the others. And then we've got technical operations and support people that are helping to round out that business unit for us, right? So the people are important. Secondly, we have a program called Success Path to Cloud. A lot of you didn't raise your hand when I asked if you were managed service providers, and we think that MSPs have a leg up on cloud because they're already in a monthly recurring revenue model, they know how to wrap services around cloud, and they're already making decisions for their end client environments. And cloud's an opportunity to bring down cost of service delivery by standardizing on cloud applications and platforms, so it's a win-win for everybody with that. So Success Path to Cloud helps people develop and move from a VAR model into a managed service provider model. For those that raised your hand and said we're already MSPs, Success Path to Cloud has like the 2.0 and 3.0 level content to be able to help you advance that business and add in more things like public cloud, advanced security services, et cetera, to be able to take your business to the next level. The third area of focus are what we call cloud clusters. A cloud cluster is a pre-integrated suite of vendor products and solutions that work together, right? So a great example of one would be Office 365, where you can wrap around collaboration solutions, backup solutions, endpoint security, et cetera, our vendor management team carefully chooses the vendor partners we work with to make sure they can all integrate and work together in a cluster. And we encourage you to take that entire suite to market, which adds additional margin for you, additional revenue, and most importantly, additional end customer value with the solution. The next pillar is our digital commerce platform. This is our cloud marketplace that we use to purchase, provision, manage, and invoice multi-vendor cloud solutions. And we're very excited this week because we just took the wraps off our next-gen, latest version of our cloud platform. We encourage you to stop by the cloud booth at the technology fair this afternoon. We're going to be doing demos every hour. And actually, we're giving away a Microsoft Surface Pro to people that come in and take a look at it. Not to everybody. You got to enter in a drawing to win it. I better qualify that before I end up in trouble here. But the new platform has some great functionality. A brand new user interface that is fantastic. It's able to be white labeled and flowed down to as many tiers below you as you want, so you can create your own custom catalogs for your end clients. You can create your own SKUs and services and add them on to the vendor products we have in there and sell your own services through that, which is fantastic. And another cool feature is that it integrates with leading MSP PSA tools, again, like ConnectWise and Autotask. You can integrate that for invoicing purposes to take touch costs out of your operations and automate the whole thing. So check out the platform today. And the very last area of focus for us is X as a service, like I talked about. We want to use that platform and the people and skills and programs we have in place, including financing programs, to be able to allow you to offer your hardware, your software, your cloud services, your professional services, your managed services in a single monthly invoice to your clients. So again, that's where Matt's going to double click and give you a little more detail about what we're doing and then what most importantly we're seeing in the market with that. Okay? So with that, I'm going to bring up Nate Hatella, and he's going to talk a little bit about marketing best practices for digital marketing to drive cloud consumption. Nate?
Good. Thank you, Jason. How's everyone enjoying lunch? Good? So I was very excited when Jason gave me the opportunity to come speak to you guys today because I identify marketing as an area that's often overlooked. A lot of times we discuss the technical aspects, we discuss the sales motion, but we might overlook marketing, right? And I think when we take a look at the role of marketing in the overall sales process, it's really a very critical component, right? So by show of hands, within your organizations, who actually has like dedicated marketing resources? Like you have a marketing person in your organization, you guys do? So just looking around the room here, we can see that frequently here again, even within your organizations, it's an area that often is the last spot to be allocated resources, right? So we frequently find with our smaller partners, even our mid-sized partners, that's a real gap. So what we're looking at on the slide here is basically the customer decision journey, right? And we can see the various phases that they walk through from the time that they determine that they have a need fulfilled to the point in which they transact with you guys, right? And I think as we look at some of the statistics here, we're going to see some very sobering facts, right? Quite a bit of the decision-making process occurs prior to them ever even interacting with your sales team, right? So the decision to purchase your product or your services is totally being made by your marketing or digital marketing presence, right? So when we take a look here, what does that actually consist of, right? So, are you hosting content about your offering, right? Are you having webinars to convey value about your organization, right? When they go to a search engine and they type in, your organization, does that come up, at the top of the list, right? Email, are you staying top of mind with the customers, right? How often are you interacting with them from a digital level, okay? So, it almost goes back to being proverbially at the top of the Rolodex, so to speak, right? So how often that you interact with them and maintain that share of their mind, is going to give you the edge versus one of your competitors, right? Is your website, does it provide information about your offerings? Is it valuable, right? Are they able to have a good feel for what you're offering in the marketplace without necessarily having to directly contact you? And, as of recently, we all know social media has become a huge component as well, right? So that's another way, for your sales organization to really be engaging with the customer through marketing, right? Question out there, does anyone have any success stories or commentary that they'd like to share pertaining to maybe some best practices that you guys within your groups utilize for marketing?
Target a specific market instead of a broadcast area.
So you were experiencing success through like very targeted marketing, in other words, right? Knowing your customer base and delivering the correct message. That's a great point, right? So especially in cloud, we find the majority of the decisions are actually made not by the IT department, but by the line of business, because really the consumption model comes down to a financial choice more so than it does an actual product functionality choice, right? So, you know, to your point, being able to target who those decision makers are within that specific market is definitely key. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to share?
I've experimented a little bit with like case study focused social media posts, just talking about a project that we're working on, and then selectively boosting that to an audience that is similar to the people we're working with, so we can get some traction from that.
Very good.
We just started doing it, but
Have you guys noticed any like immediate like
we're getting clicks.
getting clicks? Yeah.
So I call that a win.
Very good. So, I mean, that's a great example. Now, in your organization, is that something like your sales team would manage? You have like small?
Me and one other person. So.
Very good. Anyone else like to share anything? You, sir.
So we actually are very educational based with our marketing, and we post a lot of content, but we recently put on an event, and it actually went really well. We worked with one of our partners that came and spoke, and we brought some of our clients and prospective clients to the event. They all networked, and that went really, really well.
Very good.
It wasn't sales pushy at all. It was very educational. Got a few things.
Right. Basically, are conveying a lot of content to them, explain the value you're offering, right? So we understand that, you know, sometimes, you know, if you don't have the personnel in-house or the expertise, you know, coming up with the correct marketing strategies can be very daunting, right? And then even how do we like integrate that properly into the sales motion can even be another, you know, conversation, right? So as Jason mentioned, we have, you know, a program, SuccessFast Cloud, right? And we work with a variety of consulting partners. These are probably our three main partners that we work with, right? And they're available as a tool that you guys are able to leverage through us, okay? Where they would essentially come in, right? And they're going to consult you on basically end to end. So it's going to be everything from, you know, how does the marketing start off, right? What is your message, right? And then it ties all the way through how does that interface with your sales organization, as far as, you know, converting that marketing behavior into, you know, opportunities, right? All the way through, you know, optimizing that revenue so you guys can like close the opportunity and be profitable, right? So we have our cloud planning at D&H.com. You know, if it's something you guys would be interested in, generally what we do is we field your request. We kind of discuss which one of our partners is going to be the best scenario for you as far as what you're trying to accomplish. And then we would connect, you know, yourself and our consulting partner. So at that, I'd like to hand it off back to Jason here to talk a little bit about the opportunity.
Thanks, Nate. All right, so great points, I think, and great to hear that there's some good success stories happen with marketing. Again, I think, you know, any marketing is better than no marketing. And I think as an industry and a channel, at times we're often guilty of not having great marketing programs, but you have to educate your customers about the products, to relieve some of their fears, and also, you know, you look at the modern buyer's journey process, like Nate pointed out there, they're learning online before they ever pick up a phone or engage with a sales organization, so critical stuff, right? What I want to talk about is kind of going from marketing into the sales motion. And, you know, if you look at what we're seeing with some of the partners, you know, kind of this wheel on this slide here represents some of the different inflection points where you have a sales opportunity to engage to sell cloud or managed services. So, you know, certainly there's outbound sales campaigns. I'll double click on that one just a second and show you what we're seeing some people do successfully. There's inbound requests, there's hardware refresh and end of service opportunities, right? If products are becoming end of life with it, sometimes you get calls on that. Customer business reviews, that's another area I want to double click and share some best practices there. But, you know, when you're selling a service, a managed service or a cloud service, you're managing an ongoing customer experience, and it's important that you sit down and review what's happening, but guess what? It's a sales opportunity. So we'll talk about what some partners are doing to turn that into one. You know, the budget cycle on a yearly or semi-annual basis, however people budget with your customers. During service calls, you should be looking to upgrade and upsell opportunities. And then lastly, when there's quality assurance opportunities, right? Making sure the customers are satisfied with services, things like that. These are all upsell opportunities. So make sure that, first of all, your sales organization or somebody in your company is capturing those opportunities. Think about some of the data sources that you have to work those. So you've got marketing leads, Nate talked about business intelligence, which is kind of like running data based on your market or things that maybe you've sold in the past. Two areas I want to focus on today are managed services data, what you're seeing in their environment that might trigger a sales opportunity, and also cloud consumption data. what they're doing with their cloud services that might trigger an additional sales or upsell opportunity with it as well, okay? First of all, before you're selling, I just want to focus back on the cloud clusters to give you a specific example. This is the D&H Cloud Cluster specifically that wraps around Office 365. We highly recommend that you choose ahead of time how you're going to productize the stuff you're selling. You don't sell necessarily every vendor logo in there, but you should be selling every solution in there and picking which vendor you want to work with to take to market. And you should really work to make sure you offer this as a bundle out of the gate. If it's not sold out of the gate as a bundle and it's just a standalone, say, Office 365 seat, there's a sales opportunity to re-engage and then try to attach the additional services. So that's really what the whole thing you're trying to sell through these motions we're going to talk about look like. So campaign selling was one of the things we talked about. How do you take the marketing leads and opportunities that Nate talked about and that people generate and turn that into a real program? So, what I'm sharing here, this is literally the strategy of how D&H operates. And you're saying, why do I care about that? I think it's extremely relevant that a partner, and we've seen good partners replicate the same model within their own business. Maria and I are going to be out in Chicago next week working with a partner to help them implement this whole methodology in the way that they're selling cloud, right? And all of you can do the same thing. But what it starts with is, first of all, we broke down the roles. So the red boxes are vendor management, pink is marketing, light gray sales management, dark gray sales. So this might be one person within your company depending on the size, but these are all steps that have to happen. So first of all, your vendor planner should be looking at the market opportunities and deciding what should be sold, what the audience looks like, right? What the message to that audience should be. So you're developing a product sales strategy so you can really clearly define who your audience is. The second step then is to build key performance indicators or KPIs around that. So you have to put metrics in place to track execution. You can't just say, I hope to do $1 million and just shrug your shoulders when it doesn't get to $1 million. You've got to know how many leads you need to do that, what the conversion rate to pipeline is, what the win rate is, what the average deal size is going to be based on that cloud cluster that you develop. So that's a very important step, is to build a bottoms-up financial plan. We'd be happy to share some templates to do that with you if you would like to reach out. Next, you take that plan with those metrics, you jump over to the marketing team, and you decide what are the right marketing activities to drive that message out to be able to generate the leads and execute the plan. And then if you're working with vendor or distribution partners, we'd be happy to sit down. You want to make sure you secure the right resources and investments to be able to execute your plan. So once you have that all done, you're ready to execute, which is the second phase below. With that, the first step is marketing should go out and execute all the plan that they developed and drive that forward. Then sales leadership needs to say, okay, I can make X number of calls every week based on how many salespeople I have. What are those calls going to be about? How do I train my sales team to do it? What's the collateral they should be giving to a customer to educate them, maybe as a leave behind, things like that. So that's an important piece. The dark gray box, the sales team goes out and does their thing and drives open those opportunities, right? And then lastly, vendor management needs to go and look and say, let me reconcile all the things that we did, the activities, those metrics, back to my original plan, the first box. Did we do what we said we were going to do? And if yes, you should be on track to hit the financial target that you put in place. So this campaign style selling is extremely important, we think, an effective way to drive an organic and new business for many of us like cloud. Another methodology, and this is a fake report. I'll tell you, there's no such thing as ABC Company as far as I know. But what I wanted to share is just maybe a high-level example of a template that you might use in a QBR, right, with a customer that's on services already. So you might be looking at them and talk about, I want to share with you how many support calls we took this month, how many move ad change requests we did, all the incidents that we took care of for you when it came to security breaches and malware and patch management and break fix, all this type of stuff that we did. You need to put a value on those, right, and then kind of add it all up. Then you compare that to how much they're paying for their managing cloud services from you on a monthly basis, and hopefully if the math is correct, you're actually saving them money by doing that outsourced managed and cloud services with them, right? So that just talks a little bit about to show the value you're bringing. That's critical to maintain the customer. Next is you want to look at some of the analysis. So you take that data and you want to make sure you break it down into some things. So you might talk about that the help desk calls for the CRM solution from Nimble you implemented reduced by 35% because you went and did a training that month with them and retrained their team how to use the solution. Or maybe you talk about that there's 7 associates that you see that are using a freemium version of Dropbox, right? That maybe doesn't have the security practices in place that a business needs. These are the observations that you make within the business based on the data that you're seeing in your managed and cloud services delivery. And then from there, the last box on the slide is recommendations. So you want to start to connect those, the data to the analysis to a recommendation on how to move forward. So I'll use the Dropbox example again, right? You might say to them, okay, so you got 7 people using this freemium, less secure version. You should upgrade this to Dropbox per business, so let me give you a proposal for that. That's going to help you maintain your compliance and all that type of stuff that goes along with that, right? So you want to make sure you've got firm recommendations. Those become the upsell opportunities. And one thing I hear that doesn't happen often enough is ask for the sale. So at the end of that process in your QBR, you should be saying, so do we want to move forward with implementing that version of Dropbox? You can see there's a lot of other examples on there. You could pick any of those like that. But I think this is a critical piece of a sales process that is often overlooked. Sometimes the salespeople aren't even involved in any customer business reviews, or they're not being done at all. And I'd really encourage everybody to really get involved with that and use that as a sales opportunity. Does that make sense? So let's talk about sales practices. What are some other ways, or did we miss anything on the sales cycle of opportunities to sell? Are there other QBR best practices or campaign methodology that you guys are all driving with your cloud business? Anybody want to share anything? Not all at once. All right, we covered it. So the next thing we want to talk about is what we're seeing around X as a service, right? Which again is the device plus the cloud service plus the managed professional services all added together, single monthly invoice. So we're going to bring up Dr. Matt Arnold, who's going to talk a little bit about what he's seen out in the market when it comes to that business for us here.
Thanks, Jason. I expect all of you to refer to me as Dr. Arnold.
Yes.
Whenever you come to the booth this afternoon to talk about DaaS and X as a service. I don't know if I'm quite the guru that Jason makes me out to be, but I have had partner conversations, hundreds and hundreds over the course of the last few months to help build out this device as a service and this X as a service program that we have at D&H. Just show of hands, how many people in here are selling an as a service or subscription-based service to their customers today? How many of those hands that are still in the air would consider themselves MSPs? Right, okay, so I want to talk about our X as a service practice first and then talk about our device as a service practice second, because really I think our DaaS offering falls under the umbrella of X as a service. And when I sat in the Microsoft session this morning and we talked about the $25 billion device refresh opportunity that sits in front of all of us today that we need to take advantage of, 7.5, I think, of that is for SMB markets, right? So how do we not only capture the device resale now because of Windows 7 end of life, but what happens after Windows 10 comes out? What's the motivation then to continue to refresh your device after that 24, 36, or 48-month time period? This program, hopefully the X as a service and device as a service programs will help you continue to own the lifecycle refresh, right? So when I think about X as a service, it's hardware vendor agnostic. It's actually, I would say, device agnostic. It can be any device attached to a service, right? Whether you're providing that service as an MSP or we're helping you fill a gap with a service. Maybe you offer a help desk solution. Maybe you don't, and we can help you with that. But we can help you under the platform that Jason talked about, roll these services out, combine them with a piece of hardware, because oftentimes I think the opportunity to sell a piece of hardware is missed when we're selling a subscription-based service to our customer. But that's a conversation that we need to be having, I think, with our end users. It's an OpEx model, right? So when I think, again, I keep going back to this Windows 7 end-of-life thing, but with the opportunity that's in front of us with Windows 7 going end-of-life and Windows 10, there will be customers that aren't prepared for this, that don't have the money to go out and buy a bunch of devices. So when we are able to take that capital expenditure and say, hey, we can roll that into a monthly operating expense for you. It's budgetable. And by the way, there's tax benefits to doing so, right, with the equipment. And at the end of that, then we can refresh your devices. You have the latest and greatest. There's a return on investment, certainly, for the having the latest and greatest devices. Obviously, productivity, right? We talked about that this morning in Microsoft as well. And it's really incorporating the hardware, it's software, it's cloud solutions, it's managed services that you folks provide. And then there's another slide we'll show you what that looks like from a billing standpoint. But I want to talk also right now about our device as a service program and how we, as an organization, define that. So our program is endpoint devices with a Microsoft operating system, and it's Tier 1 OEM hardware. Right, so we're talking about Lenovo, HP, Dell, Acer, Asus, others, right? And we wrap that, if it has a Microsoft operating system on it, and we wrap our services into that. Today we're providing a 24/7, 365-day-a-year onshore help desk where you your end user will call the help desk, and it's a white-labeled solution, right? DAS customer support, how can we help you? We'll go through a rigorous troubleshooting process from a hardware standpoint and a software standpoint to try to fix that end user over the phone. I know there's some MSPs in here that have a help desk service that want to be able to offer that as a solution. Totally get it. You can do that under the platform in the X as a service, right? If you don't offer that solution today, we can help you bridge that gap. The other part of the DAS offering that we have today is an on-site next business day service. So the services network that we've built out can be anywhere in the country within 4 hours today. Some of you have locations that are very local, some of you may be regional, some of you may have a national presence. If you need gaps filled because you want to go after a bigger opportunity, but you don't want to expend your capital on growing your force, your labor force, we can help you with that as well. We also empower all of our customers to play in that and plug into that. So you can be a service provider, whether you're in the DAS program or not, in our network, which enables you to own the customer relationship and go on site to take care of your customer. Again, all of that, we roll up into a 24 or 36 month refresh cycle. And then at the end of that term, we work with you. We work with a financing company that we have plugged into this program. And we work with your end users to make sure, or your end users through you folks, not directly with your end users, to ensure that they're prepared for their device refresh, right? Any questions on the device as a service program as I sort of laid it out there today? I want to touch on the financing piece too, because that's important, how you folks get paid. Yeah. Yeah, so as a device as a service program is concerned, we're focused on endpoint devices. But as the servers are concerned, we're going to build best-in-class clusters, as Jason talked about, to include things like servers or backup solutions. We think Buffalo NAS, tied with the Dropbox solution, right? Rolled into finance piece and then a monthly number. So yeah, good question. But that would fall under the X as a service umbrella. And you'll see these, as we continue to roll out this platform and we build out these solutions, you're going to see these come out on the platform and you're going to be able to consume those from the platform, add in your services, and then bill accordingly. So we partnered with finance organizations who will pre-qualify your end user. Most times you guys know if your end user is going to be qualified for financing or not. And then we work with you folks to make sure that through the process of quoting, which we do in a proprietary portal that we have in the DAS program, we deliver the quote to you folks. You guys sign off on that with your end user. Whatever margin you're building into that today, at the close or after close, you guys are getting all of that up front. So the finance company will pay you up front for the term of the 24, 36 months DAS subscription. So when we talk about X as a service, the enablement and the financing piece, it really is, I think it's hardware, it's services, it's financing, and it's you guys, it's our partners that want to build in their services. So when we talk about the hardware, X as a service, like I said, can be really anything, right? It can be a server, right? It can be an endpoint device. It could be infrastructure, right? And we'll continue to build those things out. And then the services that go along with those. So it's end-to-end lifecycle management, really. It's support, it's the warranty. It's the terms and conditions of your services that we're building in and layering in, and it's the financing piece, right? So it's the cloud, it's the hardware, it's the services, and we're rolling that up into one monthly fee for you and your end users. So as we talk about the digital, I didn't see this slide before, it looks a little different, but the digital commerce platform, again, every hour on the hour, right? Starting at 4 o'clock today, I believe we're going to demo this platform that we have. And this is where a lot of these cloud clusters, or all of these cloud clusters, are going to live. So it's the purchasing experience, it's the provisioning of the device, it's the provisioning of the services, it's the subscription management over the course of the 24, 36, or other term that it might be defined as. And then, for instance, desktops, right? We talk about 36-month term. I don't think a lot of people want to refresh a server in 36 months, right? Would you concur? So we're going to have to come up with the correct term to match the hardware that we're selling. And then obviously it's a consolidated invoicing. It's one invoice. It's one throat to choke, coming from you guys to your end users, or coming from the finance company to your end users, whichever you prefer. We really tried to, when we looked at this program, make it as customizable for our partners as we could, because we want you folks, we want you to own the refresh of the device, right? And again, after Windows 7 end of life, there's less motivation for people to invest, I think, in specific endpoint technology. So That's, I think, all that I have. And I thank you for attending and certainly the conference, and we thank you all for your business. We really appreciate it. I'm going to hand it back to Jason. We can do a Q&A, and you can find me. I'm Dr. Arnold, and I'll be at the booth tonight. So
You're not off the hook yet.
Uh-oh.
I've got some questions. So
Okay.
when it comes to the margins that partners see compared to, say, selling just an upfront, project-based one-time payment for a device versus moving into a DaaS model, what's the difference? Like, what do you get in the old world typically? And
Great
I
question.
know it's tough to generalize, but what would you say?
I would say that generally speaking, because we're moving from the upfront capital expenditure to a monthly expense, that it's easier to add more margin in, right? So $10 a month doesn't move a customer as much as when you give them that upfront cost of it's going to be $1,200 more a device, right? And then from a services standpoint, I think that the margins that you consistently see from a services side remains the same or better because we're rolling that into one monthly payment. So I would say the margin definitely increases specifically on the hardware side.
Okay, fantastic. What about, another thing is that I think partners, from what I've experienced, they always want to make sure they're trying to time and capture that refresh opportunity and make sure they own that customer. What percentage of the time would you say they successfully do that when they do it in an upfront model versus capture the refresh in the DaaS model?
Well, certainly in the DaaS model, the DaaS devices go back. So the refresh is inevitable. I think when you're not in a DaaS model, then you have to sell them on a lot of different reasons on why. In the DaaS model, they're going back regardless, so we're working through you folks to make sure that they're getting the next and latest and hopefully back into another subscription-based service. Otherwise, they will, I think the average life, I think that Microsoft 7 years maybe for a device. So was it 5? Sorry, 5. Oh, you're back there. Sorry, I want to misquote you when you're in the room. So 5.5 years or whatever that was. So we can shorten that life cycle, give them the latest and greatest at the same time.
And I know you're hard at work, right? Some of this stuff is evolving, like the new platform we talked about. But Matt, what are some of the, you're responsible for putting together some of these cloud clusters when it comes to the device plus the cloud. What are some of the vendors and solutions you're putting together kind of in the plan? I'm putting in a spot here, but some of the things you're thinking about that you're going to bundle up together with this.
Yeah, so I referenced Buffalo from a NAS device, right? It's with a Dropbox or Microsoft backup solution coupled with, so you get the box and you get the subscription-based service. And we've actually talked about adding some end-of-life data destruction on that as well, which again, you folks can participate in and do. That's one. I think the Microsoft 365 coupled with a device, coupled with services that we have yet to determine yet, end-of-life services. There's all kinds of lifecycle services that can be plugged into these cloud clusters. I think provisioning, right? Imaging, asset tagging, things like that, which we can do on your behalf or you can do, but they can all be added to a device and then added to a monthly subscription.
Yeah, that's great. Just to double click on the Buffalo one for a minute, I'm kind of excited about this solution. You can actually stop by the Buffalo booth tonight to take a look at the solution. They're doing demonstrations of that as well. But you think about this, you take a NAS device, right? You back up all of your on-premise data to this Buffalo NAS device. And then you combine that, it comes bundled with a Dropbox application, so then you buy the subscription service to trigger that. And now all of your data that you have on your file server can be replicated in Dropbox up in the cloud, so you can pitch that you can access it from any device, things like that. It's a really neat solution that not enough people, I think, are seeing. And what Matt's talking about is we're actually going to make a program where the NAS device is part of the monthly subscription so that it's truly an OpEx and a more affordable for the SMB market opportunity for people to grab really what is enterprise class technology with it. So it's stuff like that that we're bringing to life with this and offering through it. So I really encourage you to check it out.
Yeah, I think in the coming weeks and months, you'll see more and more of these sort of cloud clusters roll out where we're taking best-in-class offerings coupled with software offerings, coupled with services, and then allow you to consume those based on the platform.
I've got one more question for you. You mentioned that partners and a lot of the folks I talk to, obviously services are lifeblood. That's where the biggest part of the profit comes in. You said they can get involved in actually deliver their own services or be part of the network. How do they go and do that?
Yeah, so we have some dedicated DaaS resources, and we have an email alias, daas@dnh.com, that you can email and reach out. Obviously, we'll be at the DaaS booth, and we can talk to that this afternoon into this evening. But it's basically it's an application that talks about what you folks do and your capabilities, what your office hours are, what your reach is. And again, we agree to some reimbursement rates in the DaaS program, and then we plug you folks in, which I think is great from a lot of different aspects. But you get to own the customer relationship, and also If we have a DAS call in your area, if you're in California and we have a Pennsylvania customer that did a DAS deal that's national, and we need your help, we'll dispatch you for that call as well.
Fantastic. I also want to just add on one. Someone asked about end of life for Windows Server back over there, right? One of the plays that we're seeing, first of all, we have a program called Innovate Up that can help give you more messaging and information and resources to help capture that opportunity. So we'd love to talk about that tonight at the Tech Fair. And secondly, when it comes to server, there's a great opportunity to move that into a Microsoft Azure environment right now. We're starting to see partners do that. There's some great incentives to go and do that. We actually are bringing on some additional services, a partner that we have, NetEnrich, that we're working with, and they're going to be floating around here as well. But just getting started with them to do things like assessment and migration and management of those environments if you want to move your customer into that. Because again, that's an inflection point where it's a great opportunity to migrate from an on-premise server into a cloud environment and take advantage of that and deal with it. And one of the key messages around end of service for that is that things like the security policies that go along with it, they're not going to be there. There's not going to be patch management. So these customers really need to look at it. We were out at Microsoft a couple weeks ago at headquarters there, and there's still a massive market opportunity of conversions that have not happened. I mean, it is high. So all of you have a great chance to go talk to not just your existing customers, but even new ones out there and start driving that message around it. And we can help you with some content. On device as a service, I'm curious right now, whether you call it device as a service, hardware as a service, X as a service, how many of you are currently offering those types of solutions to your customers today? Fair amount. I'd love to hear some stories. What does the sales process look like in the customer conversation? Why are they saying yes to you on buying it that way? Anybody want to share?
First and foremost, it's a client education scenario. I mean, you have to educate them exactly what that even means, and qualification as well. Qualifying the client to actually, whether you want to even work with them. But we work with a leasing company that we put together hardware as a service deals with complete infrastructure, cloud-based backup. The whole nutshell, and it's really a process. Really, it starts with education, though. It starts with educating the client exactly what that even means, because for the most part, a lot of the target companies, they don't understand it.
Right. So it starts with education. Back to what Nate was talking about, right? So we'd love to help see whether we can help replicate that for all of you with some additional content that you could take and put in your marketing program. So. Who else has success stories or ideas around how they're driving device as a service? Nobody wants to share their secret sauce, right? All right, so basically, let me bring Nate back up as well, and Dr. Arnold, you can stick around too, but okay. What types of questions do you guys have, or maybe observations you're seeing in the market right now when it comes to cloud managed services? Sir?
Need to get 80 desktops in, and we can't get them in. We can't buy them from you guys. How do you handle that?
Yeah, good question. So the question was, just to make sure everyone heard it, was with some of the shortages with CPUs right now, how are we fulfilling the demand that we're seeing in the market for DAS? I'll take first crack at it and say one thing I think you can do with DAS is that suddenly the difference between, a $700 device and an $800 device is pretty meaningless over a 3 or 4 year period, right? So sometimes you can actually sell a higher end device that might be in stock or have more flexibility with that, and the payment might go up $1 or $2 or $5 at the most or something like that on a monthly basis. So DAS might actually help to solve for that. We're seeing some partners migrate that way, and Matt, I'll see what anything you want to add into that. You're the specialist here.
Yeah, no, I think you said it perfectly, Jason. And we'd love to work with you and show you some examples when it breaks down to what the monthly number is compared to what it would be for a different piece of technology. But it's like getting into a Corvette or another fancy car as opposed to a Chevy Malibu or something like that, a rental car. I think we can help you with that and overcome some of those objections. And if the customer is stuck on a device, we'll do our very best to get them into comparable or accommodate them when those devices become available.
How do you manage
cost of the equipment increases 3 years down the road, you're saying, okay, right here, you give me $50 a month, I'm doing this, but then by the time you buy that piece of equipment, it might be an extra $1,000 or so. I guess we're back to saying, hey, we need more money versus.
Once you're in the DAS program, you're locked into a service and support. We take advantage of the economies we have across the whole program to be able to deliver what I believe is a best-in-class and priced within market solution, whether it's year 1 support, year 2, or 3. The support costs remain the same. No additional cost for multiple on-site visits. No part cost. It's all baked into the Device as a Service program. I think, does that answer your question? Okay.
Good. Other questions? Yes, sir. I think Nate's bringing you a mic there, so.
I'm hogging this one.
Most customers may have devices that are of varying ages. Is the DAS opportunity require you to basically replace and refresh all of the devices at once, or can we do part of at a time? Can we do it over a period of, say, 3 years or so, replacing a third of the devices each year?
Great question. So I would tell you that it's up to you and your client. You can definitely phase it out and do part at a time with that. No problem at all. But the other thing I would say too is oftentimes because you're moving it into the DAS model, you think about it, you're taking a monthly payment. Sometimes the budget that you have, which might have been to replace a third of the fleet, let's say, in 1 year, you could do the whole fleet in that year with the same capital dollars you were going to spend when you move it into the DAS program. But we'd be happy to sit down with you and help plan out the different options that you've got, look at what the cost would be, and help you do a phased migration if that's what's best for you and your client.
Yeah, we're seeing customers do both today. Our partners are doing both in the program, whether they're getting a predictable refresh cycle or they're just going to, because of what Jason just explained, going all out at one time. So,
Yeah. Another question in the back.
So, to add, in the event a customer says, yeah, we're interested, we want to look at this model, but we just bought, X number of new units. Is there a buyback? Can you build that into that? Can you buy those new units back?
I mean, anything's possible, and I think we work with our finance partners to be able to accommodate that. It depends on the age of the device, how long they've been out there. Yeah, but the answer is we want to be flexible, and I think it just depends on the size and scale and scope of the opportunity and what the finance companies want to do.
Matt works with a team of folks, too, that have done a lot of really creative proposals, whether it's a buyback or whether it's just helping you to put together a proposal that might, accommodate those needs. So I would love to say, have some conversations with Matt and that team about those specific opportunities so we can flush them out. I all but guarantee you that we probably saw it somewhere else at least once before and can bring that idea and see whether it sticks for you. So, anybody else? Any other best practices that you guys are seeing when it comes to, again, we're focused today on marketing and kind of educating customers, the sales process, everything from inflection points to how to go drive it, and then, how to wrap hardware into the services model. So, any other success stories anybody wants to share? All right. Well, once again, we really appreciate you guys taking time to join. We would welcome you stopping by the cloud booth a little bit today. You to check out the demos of the platform, the new marketplace that we're excited about. Love to talk about how do we set up some one-on-one time with you either today or possibly going forward on the phone or in your office if we need to. We got people that can come out and talk to you a little bit. And check out what we're doing at, by emailing cloud@dnh.com or checking out our cloud websites as well. We'd love to help you start to advance this business and really take services to the next level. We're just seeing so much success and growth with this right now. I think the numbers that we just put out there, last year we grew the cloud business services 107%. And this year we lowballed our forecast, but don't tell my boss. But we're committed to like 150% growth on that this year. And the dollars are getting bigger too, so it's really becoming significant. We want to make this a significant part of your business as well to help improve your customer stickiness, your margins, and your overall company valuations. When you think about recurring revenue services like cloud and managed services, nothing's set in stone, but typically you see about a 1x premium on a kind of an on-prem project type of business versus a 7x than what you're seeing when it comes to cloud. So 7 times your annual revenue could become the valuation of your company if you hit all the right metrics with this type of stuff. So that's what we're starting to see as people look at exit strategies, and we want to help you get there. So once again, if there's no other questions, really appreciate everyone taking the time.
And actually, before you wrap up, Jason, we do have a couple things to add. So like Jason was talking about, up on the cloud floor, they are going to be doing the cloud platform demos, but we also want to put a shameless plug in here for our next Solutions Lab webcast, which is on June 27th. It's a Thursday at the end of this month, where Matt Allison, who's hiding in the back of the room, is going to be giving a full-on demo of the brand new cloud platform. So if you want to catch that, make sure you visit dnh.com/solutionslab to register. Also, one thing to add to what Nate was saying about the marketing consultants that we have available through Cloud Solutions, don't forget about our partner services resources that we have out there and our partner services program in general. So D&H Partner Services is our internal dedicated resource to help you, our partners, with any marketing needs that you have. So not only do we have marketing resources all in one centralized location, and some customizable marketing templates and resources for you to use as your own business marketing collateral. But we also have a dedicated resource in-house, Danielle Passero, who's willing and able to help you with any of your marketing needs, from collaboration on campaigns all the way through developing resources customized for your business. So if you're interested in getting a little bit of additional help on marketing, especially as it comes to cloud, stop by our partner services booth in the D&H Central aisle upstairs in the show hall today, and Shannon Schultes will be there, and she'd be happy to help you out.
Yeah, the great points, Dave. Appreciate it. Okay, well, everybody, thanks so much for your time today. Look forward to seeing you at the Tech Fair in just a little bit.